Hi, my name is Curtis, and I am married to a medium. So I want to share my experience and her experience through my eyes, rather than just her trying to defend. And she is probably the last person to ever defend her gift because um, and we'll get into that later. I think this is going to be a series. My goal is to educate, to inform, uh, and really be the voice for my wife. There are many people in her life before I've came in that have tried to use the Bible, use what they know to silence her, to make her feel small. And I'm not here to try to tell you to go have a session with her. I'm trying to be here to so she can have the space to have full self-expression, so that she doesn't have to feel like she's being judged or damned by people. We've had people say they're going to pray for us and that basically we're going to hell if we do this, and we're already doing it. So it's not like we're doing a series and then you're going to do this, meaning my wife. We're doing this series because it's already part of our life, and so many great things have come from it. I think the word medium gets a bad rep. I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and I get it. It wasn't something that I was ready for when I met my wife. I was I was even put off by it a little bit when I first met her. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to say about it because I never experienced it. And just like you may have your own perceptions of what a medium is, whether it's bad, good, abnormal, you're going to hell, whatever the words you want to describe it for, uh, that's fine, and we're okay with that. I believe that you should have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, and same here. So the Married to a Medium series is really the opportunity to shine light on her gift and her abilities and how much good it brings. And there's been lots of questions, and I get them. I get them personally all the time. But more recently, I've brought this up publicly, and I've had a lot of public questions, and I've had a lot of public concerns. Meaning, people in my community have a lot of questions, but then there's also a lot of concerns with the Bible and us being Christians. And I'm excited to share about that and how this relates. And we'll answer all types of questions. And if you have questions, let us know, and we will continue to answer those, because I think we really just want to help people understand. We don't want to win you over. We're not trying to build sales or do any of that crazy stuff. I think our goal is just to help people understand my wife's gifts. And lastly, I want people to know that there's so much greater good that's happening because this gift from God, that a lot of people think that she's when you hear the word medium, that she's a sorcerer or she's telling people's future. And that's far from what she does. And I think that's the most important thing about this journey as I do this, is helping people understand what is a spirit medium, as we're calling it, or what is my wife's gift versus a psychic or someone that does tarot cards, and what's the difference, because I think there's a huge difference, and I think I will address those things more into the future with questions and things. But most importantly, I think I really want people to understand her gift and how much bigger of a picture this is. It's not just about her, but how many people she's helped. And the one thing I really want to make clear is we're not sharing what actually happens between her and the people, like from a perspective of saying names or people that are involved. It's just more of the premise of what's actually happening and the good that's coming out of it. We're going to talk about it all. We're not just going to talk about the good things. We're going to talk about the bad, the good, the ugly, and everything in between. And through telling our story and my story, really, and what I mean by my story is my experience being the husband of a medium. My goal is to maybe you get to learn a little bit. Maybe it might open you up to this isn't a bad thing. You may still have the opinion that it is, and that's fine too. In 2018, I went to Thailand with 5 really good friends. We had the time of our lives, and we spent about a month in Thailand. Halfway through that month, it was my birthday month, it was April, I get a call from one of my sisters that my dad had passed. And, I was with 5 really amazing people, but I never felt so alone in my life. I wasn't on the best terms with my dad when he died. He had a opiate addiction, pushed a lot of people out of his life. And so when he had died, I really was resentful towards myself and wishing I could have done something different to help him not have the addiction. And I remember being on a beach in Thailand, it was like 5 in the morning. I was exhausted, and I just remember praying to God. And I said, God, I just want to meet my wife. Like, I just want to meet my wife. And I said, I'm done. I'm done doing it my way. Been dating a lot at that point, and nothing was really working out. Like, the girls that I were meeting were amazing girls. They were amazing women. But it wasn't really what I was looking for. One of my really good friends that was on the trip with me a few days later had said, I got this like feeling that God's telling me to let you know that you're going to meet your wife after I go on my mission. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's kind of a cool thing to hear. Here I pray, and then a few days later, I always believe God brings other people to bring you messages. I don't think it's a lightning bolt out of the sky that electrocutes you, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, God, I'll turn left. I don't think those things happen. I think He uses people. At least in my experience. You might have a different experience. When I got home, I kept feeling like I should download an app. It's a dating app for Christian like-minded people, and I connect with who would futurely be my wife, and it was amazing. We had a great connection. I stalked my wife on Instagram. Let's get that clear. And I saw her link, and her link was to her website, and it talked about helping people heal. And I was blown away. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But I wasn't like, I want to meet with her and talk to my dad. Like, that's not something that we ever really talked about. We go on our first date, amazing date. She jumps out of the bushes, scares me. We just have a great time. Fast forward, we started getting together and dating and like actually being a couple. And her sisters hear about, the fact that my dad had died. So they asked me like, oh, when are you going to meet with Jen so you can connect with your dad? And I was scared. I was scared. My dad and I weren't on good terms, so why would I want to talk with him? Why would I want to meet with him? That's crazy. And I said, no, in reality, I was like, what she does is probably wonderful, and I knew her heart was pure, and I knew that she had a good, she just had a great personality and she was just a great human being. So I wasn't looking at that like, oh, she's this weirdo doing weird stuff. I was like, man, this woman is amazing. She's absolutely just have a pure heart of gold. And whatever she does to help people heal, I don't understand that, but I don't understand a lot of things in life. And I don't pretend to do anymore. I think when I was younger, more arrogant, I probably did. Probably some of my friends watching this were probably like, you act like you know it all the time. I think at this stage in my life, I realized I don't have a lot of the answers. And so when she was telling me a little bit about what she does and how she helps people heal, I listened. But I wasn't jumping in full feet, let's go have a session about my dad. I was terrified. I was scared. What did my dad have to say to me? Was he going to, there's many conversations my dad had and I had when I was younger that probably didn't go well. And I didn't know if that conversation would happen. I didn't know if he would say what I was doing was, at the time, am I messing up? And what a lot of people didn't know at the time when I first met my wife, I was going through this weird phase. I just left a business that I built with 2 other people that I didn't want to leave, but what they were doing and what I wanted to do were 2 different things, and we didn't agree. So I was in this weird stage in my life. So When I met my wife, I didn't want to go and have a session with my dad and have my dad tell me I'm being a moron or say negative things. I was scared. Fast forward a few months of us dating, and I ask her certain questions, and she's so nice and sweet to answer things and help me understand. And then one morning, I just got like woken up at 3 a.m. I'm like looking around, and I'm like, man, why am I wide awake? And then I don't know about you, but my dad had a presence. He has this presence, and he's a big personality. Where do you think I got mine from? And when he enters a room, when he was alive, uh, he would take up the entire room. He was just one of those people. He didn't even have to say anything. And I felt like that presence was in my house again. And I was like, this is weird. Went back to bed. Next morning, wake up 3 a.m. Boom. It's like 3:03, I think. Kept waking up at 3:03. And I was like, boom. I wake up. Why am I wide awake? Am I dreaming? Felt that presence again. Started getting a little weirded out, man. I was not going to lie. I was getting weirded out. Go back to sleep. Next day, light turns on. Like, I go to bed with, I don't like lights on when I sleep. And I had a basement apartment, so I really liked it dark. And 3:03, light came on. Kept waking up. And I was like, did I turn on the light? Once again, I felt that presence. And I bring it up to Jen finally when the light turns on, and she just kind of laughed. And I don't know exactly what her response was because so much has happened in the last 2 years of our lives. But I just remember her being like, I think that might be your dad. I would say I was extremely weirded out by it. I actually didn't want him in my house. And so I asked her, what can we do to make it go away? And she said, well, we can go sage the house and I'll do a prayer. And if you don't know what saging a house is, it's sage. We'll talk about that in a different video of what saging means and how that can help clear energy and stuff. Trust me, guys, if you know me, you know I'm not into this energy crystals life. That's not me. I'm very straightforward. Like that stuff is foo-foo la-la, as I would call it. But she came over, she saged the house, she said a prayer. Well, a couple days go by and boom, 3:03 happens again. I'm like, man, this is not fun. So that morning I got up, drove to my wife's house. We weren't married at the time. We were just dating. And I said, okay, let's do a session. She's pretty freaked out. And the reason why I think she's freaked out is because, is she going to mess up? Is she going to, it's almost like performing. Like she has to, it's her element. Am I going to judge her? Am I going to break up with her afterwards? There's all those fears that come in of the world, that tell us, we shouldn't do something. But she bravely took it on. So there I am laying there on the couch like I'm at the therapist's office. Put up my legs, throw my hands back, and I'm like, all right, whatever comes, comes. Now, we have talked about my dad a little bit, not so much because I was still hurting, I think. I still was really resentful towards myself. I was really hard on myself, and I blame myself. My dad had an opiate addiction because of Oxycontin, and he had so many back surgeries, and I blame myself. I could have done something. I was his son. And so I sat there, and I was like, let's talk. And she does her thing, and in a different video, I will bring her on, and she'll explain those things. But she did her thing, and part of it is a prayer, part of it is taking deep breaths, part of it is just amazing what she does. And I'm laying there and she's like, okay, there's 4 people here. One of them's a strong male. I think this might be your dad. And I'm like, okay, this is a little weird. And she says, did something, and she always writes. So she has this notepad and she's like scribbling things. And she let me know that she writes during her sessions, helps her get clarity and hear what's being said. And she's like, did something happen to your dad at 16? Now, just to let you guys know, I forgot about this. And I was like, yeah, I think something happened to him when he was 16. And then she was like, did he get punched in the stomach? And I'm like, oh, my dad had a huge scar on his stomach, and staple marks. And then she was like, and I didn't tell her this. So this is something that I even forgot about. And she goes, was it his sister, meaning my aunt, husband, that did something? And I'm like, oh, that's right. My aunt's husband at the time, when my dad was 16, punched him in the stomach and ruptured his spleen. And he had to have it taken out. And surgeries back in the 70s was probably a lot worse than they are now. So he had this huge scar, and staples, and so staple marks. And all of a sudden I could just feel like, wow, this is crazy. And my dad came through, and she just brought so much healing to our relationship. There was apologies made. There were tears. I don't want to get into too much of everything, because some of you guys know I had a rough childhood. Partly that was because my dad did what he thought was best. Some of you guys don't know that. And for those that never even met me, don't know that. But I had a rough childhood. And my dad's way of trying to discipline me was physical. And so there was a lot of conversation about that. And there was a lot of conversation about how he could see how he stifled my greatness, and how he didn't know how to help me harness the energy I had. And he just apologized, and there was so much healing and crying, and it was so overwhelming all at the same time, because here I thought I would never talk to my dad again. And here we are having a conversation through Jen that allowed me to have peace and healing in a way that I never could have ever imagined. And even me speaking to you right now about this, I bet you couldn't even imagine. I walked away with so much lifted off my shoulders. That resentment was gone. That was, I got clarity on why things went the way they went before he died, and how he was healing, and how he was finding light. And when we talk about light, is Christ, like through Christ on the other side, they're growing. And so with that, Jen's gift has made me more focused on the great things that Christ has done in the world, and what he's doing for others that may have shunned Christ on the other side, and how there are people and angels in our lineage that are helping those that have passed heal and forgive themselves and forgive those that have wronged them. And this is all like, this is where it's going to get like weird for some of y'all, because it's hard to fathom. It's hard to understand, because we don't know what's going to happen when we die. I still don't. I get a glimpse, I get a very small glimpse through my dad. But it's not something that I go and I'm like, I have all the answers now. No, we actually have long discussions about what it's like when we die. Do I fear death now? No. I don't fear death, but I don't have the energy of, well, death doesn't matter and I'm just going to do whatever I do. No, I understand more than ever the choices I make here on earth are going to carry on to the other side with me. And I only hear that through my experiences with my dad. And I know that this part is going to be weird for some of you that listen to this. But I can tell you that it's one of the most rewarding privileges that I have, being married to a medium, where I have the ability to hear what my dad's experiencing on the other side, the fact that he's in my life and my sister's life more than ever, and that he's made certain statements that are like, I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to help you become a better man. I'm here to watch over you. I'm, and if you want to look at it in a certain way, it's like he is my angel guardian, and I don't know how to tell you other than to share different stories. And that's my goal. My goal is to share my experience. My goal is to help others learn through me. I'm not here to defend my wife and her amazing gift. I'm here to share it. I'm here to be the voice for her and so many others like her. It's so interesting. I have a friend, a mutual friend of Jen and I's, that we haven't known him very long. And I sit down at lunch with him one day, and I just get prompted to be like, hey, my wife is a spirit medium. I feel like I'm being told to tell you this. I don't know why. And he looks at me and he almost breaks down in tears. And he literally is like, we have this whole conversation about it. I don't want to say too much more, but it was like the prayer that he was looking for. And once again, I'll go back to it. I believe God uses people to answer prayers. I believe he uses me. I believe he uses other people. I believe that one of my best friends that I've ever met has been the biggest prayer answerer in my life. And I don't know how God has chosen me to be Jen's husband. I know Jen had to choose me as well. I believe in free agency. We believe in free agency. But there's definitely a reason why we are where we are today, and we believe that God is a huge, if not the entire part of that besides our own agency. And I want you to know, and I want others to know, that through my experiences that I've seen, I have a deeper relationship with God, and my love for Christ has grown so much more. And I think for people to just assume that we're doing fortune telling and sorcery and wizardly stuff is, they say what assume means it makes an ass out of you and me, and that's really what people that assume it is. It's taking away the opportunity for a huge gift and a blessing to be answered in your life. And I think a lot of people assume the worst. And I'll tell you this, and I've told many people this in my life recently. God talks about in the Bible, he does not discriminate who he gives his spiritual gifts to. But I can tell you, some people use spiritual gifts for bad. You have your own agency. You get to choose. But there is not a person I know that I've met on this earth that has more of a pure heart and wants to help people heal than my wife. And I'm biased. I get that. But if you've met my wife, and I know some of you have, some of you haven't, people that have somehow found this, she is just the pure heart of gold. I am not a Bible expert, and I am not a scholar of the Bible. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, but there are many stories that contradict those that judge my wife before they even get to know her. And talking about the first stone, throwing the first stone, talking about a lot of different things that Jesus himself said, anyone without sin be the one to throw the first stone. And no one ever threw the first stone. And so I think there's a lot of people that have come across my wife's path that have wanted to throw the first stone without understanding what she does. And I absolutely believe it's not wizardry like the Bible describes. I believe it's a spiritual gift that God's given her. And you get to hear the stories and you get to listen to this. It's an opportunity. And I hope that you just get to see through my eyes what she's doing is amazing. And if you have any ill will towards us, or you want to say what we're doing is wrong, I respect that. And I also ask you to, keep them to yourself and move along. Because I know in my heart that, and I know there's so many people that have met with her, that in their hearts, they are closer to God because of it. And it's not to go to her to get direction or guidance instead of going to God. I think it's a way to heal with those that, hey, have passed maybe before you were able to heal here on earth. And maybe to understand that there are people in your life that have passed that are still here helping. And you may think I'm crazy, but I'm going to let you know it's one of the best blessings of my life, and I take it with honor that I get to be this voice. And my name's Curtis Gilbreth, and I'm married to a medium.